Mia Rodriguez had 47 seconds to decide if saving a stranger's baby was worth risking everything for. In those 47 seconds, she calculated how long she could survive a Cleveland blizzard without her only blanket, the thick wool military surplus that had kept her alive for 4 weeks on the streets. The answer was maybe 3 hours, maybe 4 if she found shelter. But the 4-month-old baby crying in her mother's arms had maybe 30 minutes before the cold turned critical. Mia made her choice. What happened in the next 2 hours would expose a school principal's plan to collect $520,000 by letting his stepdaughter perish in the cold. This is Mia and Ghost's story, and nobody saw the ending coming. Before we go further, subscribe to this channel if you believe heroes don't always wear badges. Sometimes they wear leather. Comment "Justice for Mia" if you stand with kids the system forgot, because what you're about to hear is how 250 men with motorcycles did what police, teachers, and social workers couldn't. Here's what happened next. "I'm so tired of surviving. I just want to live again." The words came out as a whisper, barely audible over the howling wind at the East 14th Street bus shelter. It was 1:47 a.m. on December 17th, and Cleveland was drowning in a blizzard that had already dropped 9 inches of snow. The temperature read 6 degrees Fahrenheit. Wind chill, -14. Mia Catherine Rodriguez stood shivering in a bus shelter that offered almost no protection, watching a young mother desperately try to warm a crying baby. The mother's name was Keisha Williams, 22 years old, stranded after her car broke down 6 blocks away. Her phone was dead. Her sister's house was still 2 miles away through the storm, and her 4-month-old daughter, Aaliyah, was turning blue. Mia had been watching for 15 minutes now, watching Keisha rock the baby, watching her breathe warm air onto Aaliyah's face, watching her sing softly through tears, trying to calm a child who was crying less and less, which wasn't a good sign. It meant the cold was winning. The thin blanket Keisha had wrapped around the baby wasn't enough. Anyone could see that. Keisha had given Aaliyah her own coat, leaving herself in just a hoodie and jeans. Mother and daughter were both losing the fight against the cold. Mia looked down at the blanket in her own arms. Olive green, thick wool, military surplus. She'd found it 4 weeks ago behind the Salvation Army donation bin, and it had become her lifeline. Every night for 28 nights, this blanket had been the difference between sleep and hypothermia. It smelled like streets and survival. In the corner, in permanent marker, she'd written her mother's name. Catherine Rodriguez, always with me. This blanket was worth more than money when you had nothing. It was life itself. But that baby was fading. Mia had seen people pass away before. Not directly, but she'd seen the aftermath on Cleveland's streets during her 8 months of homelessness. She'd seen the covered shapes being loaded into ambulances. She'd heard the whispers about who didn't wake up after a cold night. She knew exactly what happened when the temperature dropped below 0 and you had inadequate protection. Aaliyah had maybe 30 minutes left, maybe less. Mia stood up. Her legs were stiff from sitting, her whole body already shaking from cold, even with the blanket wrapped around her. She was 16 years old, 5 feet 4 inches, and 94 pounds, 22 pounds lighter than she'd been 8 months ago, when her stepfather Raymond Collins had put her on the porch with 2 trash bags and told her she was no longer his problem. She walked toward Keisha on unsteady legs. Her sneakers, held together with duct tape, crunched through the snow that had drifted into the shelter. "Excuse me," Mia said softly. Her voice was hoarse. She'd barely spoken to anyone in days. "I'm sorry to bother you." Keisha looked up, defensive. Her eyes were red from crying. "I don't have any money." "No, Mia held out the blanket. "Your baby. She needs this." Keisha stared at the blanket, then at Mia, confused. "What?" "This blanket. It's warm. Wool, military grade. It'll keep her warm better than that thin one you have. Please take it." Keisha's confusion turned to suspicion. "Why would you give me your blanket?" "Because your baby needs it more than I do." Keisha looked at Mia more carefully now. Really looked. Saw how thin she was. How her hoodie, men's size, large, swallowing her small frame, was the only thing she wore over a t-shirt. How she was already shivering violently. How her jeans had holes in them. How her sneakers were falling apart. "No," Keisha said. "No, you need this. You're freezing." Mia knelt down to Keisha's level. At 1:49 a.m., there were 4 people in or near this bus shelter. Keisha and Aaliyah, an elderly homeless man sleeping against the far wall, and a man in a leather jacket standing near the shelter entrance, big and still, watching everything with dark eyes. Mia didn't look at the man. She focused on Keisha. "I'm 16, Mia said. "I can handle cold. She's 4 months old. Babies can't regulate body temperature. She could not make it tonight without better insulation. Please, take it." "But what about you?" "I'll find somewhere. I always do." That was a lie. McDonald's down the street had closed 10 minutes ago. The shelters were full. She had nowhere to go. But the baby needed this blanket more than Mia needed the truth. Mia placed the blanket in Keisha's arms before she could protest again. Keisha started crying harder. "I don't even know your name." "It doesn't matter. Just keep her warm. Get to your sister's house. Be safe." Mia turned to walk away. The cold hit her immediately, vicious and sharp. Without the blanket, she felt every degree of that -14 wind chill. Her body started shaking harder within seconds. "Wait!" Keisha called. "Where will you go?" Mia looked back and tried to smile. It felt wrong on her face. She hadn't smiled in months. "I'll be okay." Really? She wasn't okay. She was 94 pounds of hunger and exhaustion wrapped in clothes that didn't fit. She had frostbite starting on her fingers and toes. She hadn't bathed in 11 days. Her lips were chapped and bleeding from the cold. She looked like exactly what she was, a child who'd been surviving alone on streets that claimed lives. And now she'd just given away the one thing keeping her alive. But at least the baby would live. Mia started walking toward the street, head down, trying to think of anywhere she could go. A church alcove, maybe? The library didn't open until 9 a.m. That was 7 hours away. 7 hours in this cold without a blanket was... "Hey!" The voice was deep, male, close behind her. Mia froze. Every survival instinct screamed danger. On the streets, you learned fast. Men who approached you at 1:50 a.m. wanted something, and it was never good. "Hold up a second." Mia turned slowly. The man from the shelter entrance was there. Up close, he was huge. 6 feet 2 inches, 240 pounds, broad shoulders filling out a black leather jacket. He had a gray beard, dark eyes, and a patch on his jacket that read, "Hell's Angels," above Cleveland. Mia stepped back, her heart hammered. The man raised his hands immediately, palms out. "Easy, I'm not going to hurt you. I saw what you did. That was incredible." "I need to go," Mia whispered. "Where? McDonald's closed 10 minutes ago." So he'd been watching, paying attention. That made him more dangerous, not less. "Somewhere else," Mia said. I'll find somewhere. Kid, it's negative 14 degrees with wind chill. You just gave away your blanket. Where are you really going? Mia didn't answer. Because there was no answer. There was nowhere. The man did something unexpected then. He knelt down, making himself smaller, less threatening. Now he was at her eye level instead of looming over her. It was a tactical move, and Mia recognized it even through her panic. He understood trauma. He understood fear. What's your name? He asked gently. Mia. Mia, I'm Marcus. My brothers call me Ghost. I'm with a motorcycle club, and I'm not going to let you perish tonight, okay? You can't help me, Mia said. The words tumbled out fast, desperate. Nobody can. The system doesn't care. My stepfather kicked me out and he's a principal and everyone believes him and I'm just homeless and nobody listens and… Whoa, slow down. Marcus held up a hand. Your stepfather is a principal? What's his name? Raymond Collins, Lincoln High School. But it doesn't matter. He filed reports saying I'm a runaway with substance issues, which is a lie. And he took out life insurance on me, and I think he caused my mom's accident and… She stopped. She'd said too much. To a stranger. A scary stranger in a Hell's Angels jacket. What was she thinking? But Marcus's face had gone hard. Raymond Collins? The guy who gives speeches about helping at-risk youth? Mia stared at him. You know him? I know of him. Community big shot. Deacon at church. Pillar of society. That Raymond Collins kicked out his 16-year-old stepdaughter? Yes, 8 months ago. But nobody believes me because he filed reports saying I'm a runaway with behavioral issues and chemical dependency. And she was talking too fast again. Years of silence breaking open. And he took out life insurance on me after my mom died, and I think he ended her life too. And I have evidence, but I didn't know who to trust, and… Marcus held up his hand again. Mia, listen to me very carefully. You just gave your blanket to a stranger's baby to save that child's life. You're starving and freezing and you chose to help someone else. You know what that tells me? Mia shook her head. It tells me you're exactly who you say you are. It tells me your stepfather's a liar. And it tells me you're not a runaway. You're a survivor. Something broke in Mia then. 8 months of holding it together, of staying strong, of surviving one more day, and then one more day, and then one more. It all fell apart. She sobbed, right there on the sidewalk at 1:52 a.m., while snow fell around them. Through the tears, she whispered the words that would change everything. I'm so tired of surviving. I just want to live again. I want to be warm. I want to sleep without being scared. I want someone to believe me. Please, I can prove he's lying. I have evidence about my mom's death, about the insurance, about everything. But I didn't know who to trust. I'm so tired. Marcus stood up. He took off his leather jacket. He had thermal layers underneath, and wrapped it around Mia. It swallowed her completely. It was warm from his body heat. It smelled like leather and motor oil and safety. First things first, Marcus said. You're not freezing tonight. Second, you're not going back on those streets. Third, I'm calling my brothers. And fourth, we're going to take down Raymond Collins. He pulled out his phone. Mia grabbed his arm. Wait, your brothers? Like a gang? Like a family. Hell's Angels. And before you get scared, we protect people who can't protect themselves. Especially kids. Especially kids whose own guardians failed them. But the police won't listen to bikers. Kid, I've got lawyers, former cops, investigators, and 250 brothers across Ohio in my phone tree. We're not vigilantes. We do this legal, but we do it right. And when we're done, Raymond Collins will wish he'd never met your mother. Marcus made the call. He put it on speaker so Mia could hear. Priest, it's Ghost. The voice on the other end was older, gravelly. Ghost, It's 2 a.m. This better be good. I'm at East 14th and Euclid. I've got a 16-year-old homeless girl, 8 months on the street. Stepfather kicked her out. He's Raymond Collins, principal at Lincoln High. A pause. The youth advocate guy? That Raymond Collins? Same one. Took out life insurance on her after he took out life insurance on her mother. Mother died in suspicious car accident 21 months ago. This kid thinks he ended her mom's life and is waiting for her to pass away on streets so he can collect. Good Lord. The voice, priest, sounded angry now. Where is she now? Shivering in my jacket after she gave her only blanket to a stranger's baby to save the kid's life. Priest, she's got evidence, documentation, and she's got 4 months until her 18th birthday when she inherits money from her mother. He's going to get rid of her before May if we don't move. Another pause. Then, Code Fallen Youth. I want every brother within 100 miles mobilized. Get her somewhere safe. I'll start making calls. Ghost, we're bringing that monster down. The line went dead. Marcus looked at Mia. You hear that? That's 250 men who just became your family. You're not alone anymore. Mia couldn't speak. She just nodded, still crying. Marcus positioned himself between her and the street. A shield against the wind. A barrier between her and the world that had tried to break her. Then he did something else unexpected. He pulled out his wallet and showed her a photo. A teenage girl with dark hair and a bright smile. This is my daughter, Marcus said quietly. Her name was Christina. Past tense, was. She died 3 years ago. 16 years old. She lost her battle with addiction. She was struggling, and I wasn't there enough. I was on the road, working, and I missed the signs. I'll never forgive myself. I'm sorry, Mia whispered. Don't be sorry. Just understand. I can't save my daughter. She's gone. But I can save you. And if you let me, I'm going to make damn sure Raymond Collins never hurts another kid. You're Christina's age. You've been surviving the same streets she died on. But you're not dying. Not tonight. Not ever. Understand? Mia nodded again. Good. Now my prospect's bringing my truck around with food and blankets. Then we're getting you a hotel room for tonight. Tomorrow we build the case that buries Raymond Collins. Within 10 minutes, Marcus's truck pulled up. A younger man, maybe 25, nervous-looking, jumped out with a thermos of hot chocolate and 3 blankets. Marcus wrapped Mia in all 3, then helped her into the passenger seat. The heater was blasting. The seat was warm. There was food, a sandwich, chips, an apple. Mia hadn't realized how hungry she was until she saw the food. She tried to eat slowly, tried to be polite, but her body took over. She devoured the sandwich in less than a minute. Marcus didn't comment. He just handed her the thermos. Drink slow. Your stomach's not used to hot food. The hot chocolate burned going down, but it was the best pain Mia had ever felt. Warmth spreading through her chest, her fingers starting to tingle as circulation returned, her shaking beginning to ease. Marcus drove carefully through the snow. There's a Red Roof Inn on Carnegie Avenue. I've already called. They're holding a room. You'll stay there tonight. A woman from our club. Her name's Rita. She's meeting us there. She'll stay in the next room. Make sure you're safe. No men around you tonight except to get you checked in. Okay? Okay, Mia whispered. Tomorrow morning we start gathering evidence. But tonight, you sleep. Real sleep. In a real bed, with heat and safety and locked doors. Can you do that? I don't know how anymore. Marcus glanced at her. His eyes were sad. You'll remember. It might take a few nights, but you'll remember. They drove in silence for a moment. Then Marcus asked, This evidence you mentioned, what do you have? Mia reached into her backpack, the same beat-up backpack she'd been carrying for 8 months. From a Ziploc bag, she pulled out a notebook, a USB drive, and papers. "I have dates and times of when Raymond acted suspicious," Mia said. She was talking faster now, more alert. The hot chocolate and food were bringing her back to life. "I have a copy of the life insurance policy he took out on me. I have photos of my mom. I have screenshots from her email where she told her sister she was worried about Raymond. And I have—" She paused. "I have memories of the night before my mom died. I saw Raymond in the garage with her car. He said he was checking the oil, but her car had just been serviced. Why would he check the oil?" Marcus's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Your mother died in a car accident?" "Single-car collision. They said it was wet roads, but her brakes were brand new. The mechanic said they were perfect 8 days before the crash. How do perfect brakes fail in 8 days?" "They don't," Marcus said quietly. "Not unless someone makes them fail." They pulled into the Red Roof Inn parking lot. A woman was waiting outside. Rita Chen, 44 years old, wearing a Hells Angels jacket and a kind expression. She had the face of someone who'd seen suffering before and knew how to sit with it. Rita opened Mia's door. "Hey, sweetheart. I'm Rita. Let's get you inside and warm, okay? I've got the room ready. Clean sheets, hot shower if you want one. No pressure. Just safety." Mia looked at Marcus. "What happens tomorrow?" "Tomorrow, I call the rest of the family," Marcus said. "Tomorrow, we start building the case. Tomorrow, we show Raymond Collins that he picked the wrong kid to throw away." "But what if nobody believes me? What if the police say I'm just a runaway making up stories?" Marcus met her eyes. "Mia, before the sun comes up, you're going to have 250 bikers who believe you. We've got former cops in our club. We've got lawyers. We've got investigators. And we've got something Raymond Collins doesn't have." "What?" "The truth. And brothers who won't stop until everyone else sees it too." The hotel room was small but clean. Twin bed with white sheets. Carpet that didn't smell like streets. A bathroom with a shower. Heat coming from a wall unit that actually worked. Rita showed Mia how everything worked, then said, "I'm next door in room 215. Here's my number. You call me if you need anything. Hungry at 3 a.m.? Call me. Scared? Call me. Can't sleep? Call me. I'm not going anywhere." After Rita left, Mia stood in the middle of the room, not sure what to do. It had been so long since she'd been in a real room. So long since she'd had privacy, safety, warmth. She took a shower. The water was so hot it almost hurt, but she stayed under it for 20 minutes, washing away weeks of street grime. Her hair went from greasy tangles to something almost clean. Her skin turned pink from the heat. When she finally got out, she put on clean clothes Rita had brought. Sweatpants and a t-shirt, both too big, but soft and warm. She climbed into the bed. The sheets were cold at first, then warmed from her body. The pillow was soft. The blanket was heavy and warm. Mia closed her eyes. For the first time in 8 months, she felt something she'd almost forgotten. Safe. She was asleep in under 5 minutes. And for the first time in 243 nights, she didn't wake up every 45 minutes checking for danger. She slept. Really slept. 6 hours of dreamless, healing rest. While Mia slept, Marcus was on the phone. First call went to Priest. Victor Priest Dalton, 61 years old, chapter president of the Cleveland Hells Angels. Former Army chaplain from the Vietnam era. A man who'd counseled soldiers through trauma and lost his own daughter to domestic violence in 2009. Every child protection case was personal to Priest. "Ghost, what do we know so far?" Priest's voice was alert despite the 3 a.m. hour. Kid's been homeless 8 months, Marcus said. He was in his truck, parked outside the hotel, watching Rita's room window to make sure Mia was safe. Stepfather's Raymond Collins. You've probably seen him on the news. Principal at Lincoln High. Deacon at Grace Community Church. Board member of Cleveland Youth Foundation. Everyone thinks he's a saint. And 21 months ago, his wife, Mia's mother, died in a car accident. Single vehicle, hit a tree, ruled accidental. Collins had taken out a $280,000 life insurance policy on her 14 months before her death. Priest was quiet. Then, "That's suspicious timing." It gets worse. 3 months after the mother dies, Collins takes out a $180,000 policy on Mia. Then 5 months after that, he kicks her out. Files a missing persons report saying she's a troubled runaway. The report's still active, which means every time she tries to get help, police call him. He plays concerned parent, and she goes right back to the streets. How old is she? 16. Birthday's May 8th. In 4 months and 21 days, she turns 18. According to her, there's an inheritance from her mother, about $340,000. If Mia dies before 18, Collins contests for it as guardian. If she makes it to 18, she gets it and can hire lawyers to investigate her mother's death. So he's got a 4-month window to make sure she doesn't survive to 18. Exactly. Priest was silent for a long moment. What's your read on the kid? Marcus thought about Mia giving away her blanket, about her whispered confession, about the evidence she'd been carrying in a Ziploc bag, about how she'd apologized for existing. She's telling the truth, Marcus said. And Priest, if we don't move fast, she's gone by February. Code Fallen Youth, Priest said. I'm making calls. How many do we need? All of them. Collins is connected. School board, church, community foundation. We need overwhelming force, legal force, public pressure. We need every brother who can ride to Cleveland in the next 12 hours. Consider it done. I'll call Columbus, Toledo, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Cincinnati. We'll have 250 bikes here by tomorrow evening. Where are we staging? Clubhouse on Industry Drive. I'll have Bones reach out to his contacts at Cleveland PD. We need cops who will actually investigate instead of just calling the stepfather. Bones? Priest confirmed. Gerald Matthews? Yeah. He did 28 years with CPD homicide before he retired. He'll know who to call. Good. I want wire on the digital forensics, phone records, bank statements, search history. If Collins Googled how to end someone's life, I want it documented. Wire's already on it. I texted him the basics. He's pulling everything he can legally access tonight. And Doc? Priest asked. Sarah Chen? I want her to examine Mia tomorrow. Document the malnutrition, the frostbite, everything. We need medical evidence of what 8 months on the streets did to her. Done. Ghost, good work. You probably saved that kid's life tonight. She saved herself, Marcus said quietly. She gave away her only blanket to save a baby. She's been documenting evidence against Collins for months. She's been fighting. I just showed up. Maybe, but sometimes showing up is everything. At 6 a.m., Mia woke up confused. The room was warm. The bed was soft. For 3 seconds, she thought she was 14 again, safe in her mother's house before everything fell apart. Then she remembered. The bus shelter. The baby. Marcus. The hotel. She was safe. Actually safe. There was a knock on the door. Mia, it's Rita. I brought breakfast. Mia opened the door. Rita had coffee, orange juice, eggs, toast, fruit. Real food. Hot food. How'd you sleep? Rita asked. I slept, Mia said. The words felt huge. I actually slept. Good, eat up. We've got a busy day. Marcus is coming at 9 a.m. with some people who want to help. At 9 a.m. sharp, Marcus arrived with 3 other men. They didn't look like what Mia expected. No skull rings or aggressive postures. They looked like regular people, a mix of ages, all wearing leather vests with the Hell's Angels patch, all carrying themselves with quiet confidence. Marcus made introductions. Mia, this is Bones. Gerald Matthews. He's retired Cleveland Police, Homicide Division. 28 years on the force. Bones was 56, black, with gray at his temples and kind eyes. He shook Mia's hand gently. I've seen the preliminary information Ghost sent last night. I want to hear your story in your own words. Everything you remember. This is Wire, Jason Park, digital forensics expert, former FBI cybercrimes. Wire was 38, Asian American, already tapping on a laptop. I'm pulling everything I can legally access about Raymond Collins. Bank records, phone records, public documents. If he left a digital trail, I'll find it. And this is Doc, Sarah Chen, trauma surgeon at Metro Hospital. Doc was 44, Chinese American, with a medical bag over her shoulder. I'm going to examine you, if that's okay. Document your physical condition. It's important evidence. Mia nodded slowly. Okay. They sat in the hotel room. Rita made sure Mia was comfortable, positioned between her and Marcus so she felt safe. Then Bones pulled out a notebook. Start wherever feels right, Bones said. Take your time. Mia told them everything. About her mother Catherine dying 21 months ago. About Raymond changing immediately after the funeral. Cold, controlling, eventually hostile. About him kicking her out 8 months ago with $40 and 2 trash bags. About the life insurance policies. About the night she saw Raymond in the garage with her mother's car right before the fatal accident. As she talked, Wire was typing furiously on his laptop. Bones was taking detailed notes. Doc was listening with the focused attention of someone who'd heard trauma before and knew how to hold it. When Mia finished, Bones looked up. You mentioned you have evidence. Can I see it? Mia pulled out her backpack. From the waterproofed Ziploc bag, she handed over the notebook, the USB drive, the insurance documents, the photos. Wire immediately plugged in the USB drive. His eyes widened. These are screenshots from Catherine's email account. How did you get these? I accessed them before Raymond changed all the passwords. My mom had given me her login information in case of emergency. After she died, I saved everything I could. Wire scrolled through the files. There's an email here from Catherine to her sister, dated March 1st, 2023, 2 weeks before she died. She writes, Something feels off about Raymond. He took out this huge insurance policy without really discussing it with me. When I asked questions, he got defensive. I'm probably being paranoid, but I've been thinking about canceling it. Bones leaned forward. That's consciousness of guilt. She sensed something was wrong. Wire kept scrolling. There's another one, March 10th. Catherine writes, Raymond's been acting strange. He borrowed my car yesterday for 4 hours, said his was getting detailed, but his car was in the driveway when I got home. Why did he need my car? That was 5 days before she died, Marcus said quietly. Doc spoke up. Mia, I need to examine you now. Is that okay? Rita can stay in the room with you. The examination took 20 minutes. Doc was gentle but thorough, documenting everything with photographs and notes. When she finished, her face was grim. 94 pounds, Doc said. For a 16-year-old who should weigh 115 to 120 pounds, that's severe malnutrition. Early-stage frostbite on 8 fingers and 6 toes, signs of prolonged exposure, chapped lips, skin damage, dehydration, upper respiratory infection brewing, 2 abscessed teeth from lack of dental care. She looked at Bones. Medical opinion? Without intervention, this child had maybe 2 to 3 weeks of survivable time remaining. Combination of malnutrition, exposure, and infection would have caused system failure by mid-January. "Can you testify to that?" Bones asked. "Absolutely, and I'll fight anyone who questions it." Wire's laptop chimed. He looked up, eyes bright. "I got access to Collins's financial records, public documents, property transfers, insurance payouts. The timeline is damning." He turned the screen so everyone could see. March 15th, 2023. Catherine dies. May 2023. Raymond receives $280,000 life insurance payout. Look what he does with it. Wire pulled up bank records. May 17th. Pays off $87,000 mortgage. June 2nd. Deposits $78,000 for 2024 Cadillac Escalade. August 14th. Down payment on rental property, $95,000. Then there's country club membership, trips to Vegas, expensive dinners. Within 18 months, he spent $317,000, more than the insurance payout. "He's burning through it," Marcus said. "Exactly. But here's where it gets interesting." Wire clicked to another document. August 2023, 5 months after Catherine's death, Raymond takes out a $180,000 life insurance policy on Mia. Then November 18th, 3 months later, he kicks her out and files a missing persons report. Wire pulled up the police report. Look at what he writes. "My stepdaughter has been displaying increasingly erratic behavior. Possible substance use, has threatened to hurt herself in the past." That last part is key. If Mia doesn't make it, he's already established a narrative. Troubled teen, probably a tragic accident or self-harm. No one investigates. Bones shook his head. He's been planning this for 8 months. "There's more," Wire said. He pulled up search history records, obtained through a subpoena Wire had rushed through overnight, using his FBI contacts. Raymond's internet searches from his home computer. The searches appeared on screen, time-stamped, November 2023, month he kicked Mia out. How long do homeless teens survive winter? Hypothermia survival timeline. Street tragedy statistics Cleveland. When does life insurance pay out for accidental death? March 2024, Censor. Missing person presumed passed away timeline. Death certificate without remains Ohio. "He was researching how to end her life without getting caught," Doc said, disgust in her voice. Bones stood up. "We have enough for a preliminary investigation, but we need more. We need witnesses who saw him kick her out. We need to reopen Catherine's accident investigation. We need pressure, legal, public, institutional." "That's where the rest of the family comes in," Marcus said. He checked his phone. "Priest says we'll have 250 brothers here by 5 p.m. Cleveland, Columbus, Toledo, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Cincinnati chapters. Every brother within 100 miles who can ride." Mia looked up, startled. 250? 250, Marcus confirmed. "And tomorrow morning we're riding to Lincoln High School. Not to threaten, not to intimidate, just to stand. To be present, to make it very clear that you're not alone anymore, and Raymond Collins's time as an untouchable community leader is over." By 5 p.m. that evening, the Hells Angels clubhouse on Industry Drive looked like a military staging ground. Motorcycles lined the parking lot in perfect formation, row after row of gleaming chrome and leather. Men in cuts stood in groups, talking quietly, organized and focused. The rumble had started at 3 p.m., a distant sound, like thunder on the horizon. Then it grew louder and louder, until the entire neighborhood could hear it. Hundreds of motorcycle engines roaring in coordinated arrival. They'd come in groups. First the Columbus chapter, 112 riders pulling in together, parking in disciplined rows. Then Toledo, 68 bikes. Then Pittsburgh, 94 riders who'd left before dawn to be here. Detroit sent 89. Cincinnati sent 50. And Cleveland's own chapter contributed 87 members. Total, 250 brothers. Inside the clubhouse, Priest called the meeting to order at 6 p.m. The room was packed. Leather and muscle and focused energy. But the tone wasn't aggressive. It was strategic. Priest stood at the head of the table. He was 61 years old, gray beard, sharp eyes, and the kind of presence that commanded attention without demanding it. He'd spent decades as an army chaplain, counseling soldiers through trauma. He knew how to lead men who'd been through fire. "Brothers," Priest said, "we're here for Mia Rodriguez, 16 years old, homeless for 8 months. Stepfather is Raymond Collins, principal at Lincoln High School, deacon at Grace Community Church, board member of Cleveland Youth Foundation. Everyone thinks he's a saint." Murmurs rippled through the room. Collins's wife, Mia's mother, died 21 months ago in a suspicious car accident. Collins had taken out a $280,000 policy on her 14 months before her death. Then he took out a $180,000 policy on Mia. 3 months later, he kicked her out. She's been surviving on the streets ever since, and he's been waiting for her to perish so he can collect. The room went silent. Cold, focused silence. "Tomorrow morning," Priest continued, "we ride to Lincoln High School. This is not a protest. This is not intimidation. This is a peaceful demonstration of support for a child the system failed. We park. We stand. We're visible. We let Raymond Collins and everyone in that community know that Mia has family now. Understood?" "Understood," came the unified response. "Bones, what's the status with Cleveland PD?" Bones stood. "I contacted my former partner, Detective Lisa Hernandez. She's with homicide, clean reputation, not in Collins's pocket. She's agreed to reopen the investigation into Catherine's death based on the new evidence Wire found. She'll be interviewing witnesses tomorrow." "Good. Wire, where are we with digital evidence?" Wire stood next. "I've documented everything. Bank records showing Collins spent the life insurance money and is now in debt. Search history showing premeditation. Timeline showing policy. Mother's death. Policy on Mia, kicking her out. It's all time-stamped and verified. I've prepared a complete packet for the prosecutor." "Doc?" Doc stood. "I've documented Mia's condition. Medical evidence shows prolonged neglect and endangerment. Photos, measurements, prognosis. I'll testify that without intervention, she wouldn't have survived another few weeks." Priest looked around the room. "Any questions?" One hand went up, a younger member, maybe 30. "What if Collins lawyers up and walks?" "He'll lawyer up," Priest said. "But he won't walk. We have evidence, witnesses, medical documentation, and 250 brothers watching every move the system makes. Collins has been protected by his reputation. We're going to make him radioactive. By the time we're done, no one will want to be associated with him. What if the school board protects him?" "Then we show up to every school board meeting until they don't," Marcus said from the back of the room. "Public pressure works, trust me." Priest nodded. "Anything else?" Silence. "Then let's vote. All in favor of Code Fallen Youth. Full mobilization to protect Mia Rodriguez and bring Raymond Collins to justice?" The room went quiet. 250 men, all wearing their cuts, all waiting. Priest looked around. "All in favor?" For a moment, nothing. Just the ticking of the clock on the wall and the distant sound of traffic outside. Then every single hand went up. Not a moment's hesitation. Not a single dissenting voice. 250 men voting unanimously to help a girl they'd never met. Motion carries, Priest said. We ride at dawn. That night, Detective Lisa Hernandez started making calls. The first call went to Tony Rodriguez, the mechanic who'd serviced Catherine's car 8 days before her death. Mr. Rodriguez, this is Detective Hernandez with Cleveland PD Homicide. I'm reopening the investigation into Catherine Collins's death from March 2023. You serviced her vehicle on March 7th, is that correct? Yeah, I remember. Tony's voice was cautious. Oil change, tire rotation. Why? According to your records, you also inspected the brakes. I did. They were recently replaced. Excellent condition. I made a note in the file. Those brakes were good for another 40,000 miles, easy. The accident report says the brakes showed wear consistent with age. Tony was quiet for a moment. Then, Detective, those brakes were 8 days old when that car crashed. There's no way they wore out. If the brakes failed, someone tampered with them. I'd bet my shop on it. Would you testify to that? Absolutely. That woman's death never sat right with me. Brakes don't go from perfect to failed in 8 days, not without help. The second witness was Sarah Martinez, Raymond's next-door neighbor. Detective Hernandez knocked on Sarah's door at 8 p.m. Sarah answered, wary. Can I help you? Mrs. Martinez, I'm Detective Hernandez. I'm investigating Raymond Collins's stepdaughter, Mia Rodriguez. I understand you witnessed something on November 18th of last year. Sarah's face changed. Guilt flashed across it. I saw him put her out. Can you tell me what happened? Sarah stepped outside, closing the door behind her. When she spoke, her voice was soft. It was morning, maybe 8 a.m. I was getting my newspaper. I saw Raymond putting trash bags on the curb, big black ones, stuffed full. Then I saw Mia. She was crying on the porch. She looked so small, so scared. Sarah's hands were shaking. She gripped them together. I asked Raymond if everything was okay. He said, "Troubled kid. Can't help someone who won't help themselves." Then he went inside and locked the door. Just locked her out. She stood there crying for an hour before she finally left. Did you call anyone? Police? Child services? No. Sarah couldn't meet the detective's eyes. I felt terrible, but I didn't want to interfere. Raymond's a principal. I thought he knew what he was doing. I thought maybe there was more to the story. She finally looked up. But there wasn't, was there? He just threw her away. And I did nothing. Why are you telling me this now? Because I've been carrying it for 8 months. Every cold night I wondered where she was. If she was okay. If she was alive. I should have helped her. I should have called someone. I didn't. And that's something I'll have to live with. But I can help now. I'll testify. I'll tell everyone what I saw. The third witness was Patricia Hayes, the school counselor at Covington High, Mia's former school. Detective Hernandez found Patricia at home. When Patricia opened the door and saw the detective's badge, her face went pale. "This is about Mia Rodriguez, isn't it?" Patricia said. "You know her?" "She came to me 5 months ago, August." Patricia stepped aside, letting the detective in. They sat in her living room. Patricia's voice was tight. "She came to my office during lunch. She looked terrible, thin, dirty, obviously not taking care of herself. She said she needed help, said her stepfather had kicked her out and she'd been living on the streets." "What did you do?" Patricia's voice broke. "I called Raymond Collins. It's procedure. You have to notify the guardian. He came to the school. Told me Mia was troubled, manipulative, made false accusations because she didn't want to do chores. He said she'd run away before and always came back." "Did you believe him?" "He's my boss, detective. He's the principal of the district's flagship school. He's respected, powerful. When he told me not to file a report, that he'd handle it as a family matter, I listened. Patricia was crying now. But I knew. Deep down, I knew something was wrong. The way Mia looked at him, the way she flinched when he came near her, the way she begged me not to call him. But I did it anyway because he had authority, and she didn't. Would you testify to this? Yes. I don't know if it'll help, but yes. I should have protected her. I had one job, protect the kids in my school, and I failed her because I was afraid of losing my job. By midnight, Detective Hernandez had 4 witness statements. Tony Rodriguez, mechanic; Sarah Martinez, neighbor; Patricia Hayes, counselor; and Keisha Williams, the young mother from the bus shelter who'd tracked down the Hells Angels to thank them and ended up giving crucial testimony about Mia's selflessness. She also had Wire's complete digital evidence packet: bank records, insurance documents, search history, timeline showing premeditation. At 1 a.m., she called the prosecutor's office. This is Hernandez. I'm reopening a suspicious death from March 2023 and filing charges on child endangerment. I need a warrant for Raymond Collins. On what grounds? Evidence of insurance fraud, potential vehicular homicide in wife's death, and willful child endangerment resulting in life-threatening conditions. I've got 4 witnesses, digital evidence showing motive and planning, and medical documentation. This is solid. Send me everything. If it's as strong as you say, I'll have a warrant by 6 a.m. At 5:30 a.m., 250 motorcycles roared to life across Cleveland. They met at the clubhouse on Industry Drive, then rolled out in formation at 6 a.m. sharp. The sound was deafening, beautiful, thunderous. They rode in tight rows, 4 bikes across, organized by chapter. Cleveland led. Columbus followed. Toledo, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Cincinnati behind. The formation stretched for blocks, a river of leather and chrome moving through the city streets. People stopped on sidewalks to watch. Cars pulled over. The rumble shook windows. It was impossible to ignore. They arrived at Lincoln High School at 6:45 a.m., 15 minutes before most staff arrived. They parked in perfect rows in the overflow lot across the street. Then, in near silence, 250 men cut their engines simultaneously. The sudden quiet was almost as powerful as the roar had been. Then they stood. Didn't block entrances. Didn't shout. Didn't threaten. Just stood, arms crossed, watching. A wall of leather and solidarity. When Raymond Collins pulled into his reserved parking spot at 7:05 a.m., he froze. His Cadillac Escalade, purchased with his dead wife's insurance money, sat idling as he stared at 250 bikers standing across the street. He got out slowly, looked at them. They looked back. No one moved. Raymond walked toward the school entrance, trying to project confidence, but his hands were shaking as he unlocked the door. At 7:30 a.m., Detective Hernandez and 2 uniformed officers arrived. They walked past the bikers, who nodded respectfully, but said nothing. This was the system working now, legal process, proper channels. Inside, Raymond was in his office. He was eating breakfast, a bagel with cream cheese, coffee, in a Lincoln High School mug. He looked up when the officers entered, confused. "Can I help you?" "Raymond Collins?" Detective Hernandez asked. "Yes?" "You're under arrest for child endangerment, insurance fraud, and suspicion of vehicular homicide in the death of Catherine Rodriguez Collins." Raymond's face went white. The bagel dropped from his hand. "What? This is absurd. I'm a school principal. I've dedicated my life to helping youth. You kicked out your 16-year-old stepdaughter 8 months ago, Mr. Collins. She's been living on the streets. She nearly died from exposure and malnutrition last night. We have witnesses. We have evidence. We have your search history showing you researched how long homeless teens survive winter." I don't know what you're talking about. Turn around. Hands behind your back. Raymond started to argue, then stopped. Through his office window, he could see the bikers. 250 of them. Still standing. Still watching. He turned around. The handcuffs clicked shut. "Raymond Michael Collins," Detective Hernandez said, "you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." They walked him out in handcuffs at 7:42 a.m. Past shocked teachers, past students arriving for school, past the 250 bikers who'd stood witness. As the police car pulled away, not a single biker moved. They'd come to make a statement, and they'd made it. The legal process moved faster than anyone expected. When you have 4 witnesses, documented evidence, and 250 bikers making it clear the world is watching, the system suddenly remembers how to work. Raymond Collins was arraigned within 48 hours. Bail was set at $500,000, an amount that a man who'd burned through $317,000 and had $23,000 in credit card debt couldn't begin to afford. He stayed in county jail while his lawyer scrambled. The charges were extensive: felony child endangerment, insurance fraud, grand theft for the inheritance he'd planned to steal, and the investigation into Catherine's death was officially reopened as potential vehicular homicide. The prosecutor made it clear: this wasn't going away. But Mia's story wasn't about Raymond anymore. It was about what happened next. Within 24 hours of Raymond's arrest, the Hells Angels had transformed Mia's life through pure logistics and brotherhood. Bones used his law enforcement contacts to expedite emergency custody. A judge signed papers making Mia a ward of the state, but with special provisions. She was placed in the care of Rita Chen, who'd fostered teens before and had space in her home. Rita's house on Denison Avenue had a spare bedroom, already prepared with clean sheets and a desk for homework. "It's yours as long as you need it," Rita told Mia. "Could be months, could be years until you're 18. Either way, you're home now." Wire coordinated the financial support. The Hells Angels clubs across Ohio took up a collection. When the final count came in, they'd raised $47,000. The money went into a trust, $12,000 for immediate needs: clothes, school supplies, medical care, the rest held for Mia's future. College fund, apartment deposit when she turned 18, whatever she needed. "We take care of our own," Wire said simply. Doc scheduled medical appointments. First visit was comprehensive: full physical, dental work for the abscessed teeth, treatment for the frostbite. The damage wasn't permanent, but it had been close. Another week on the streets, and Mia would have lost 3 toes. "You're malnourished, but resilient," Doc explained. "Your body's been in survival mode. We'll get you back to healthy weight slowly. Can't rush refeeding or it causes problems. But you're going to be okay." Doc also arranged therapy. A trauma specialist named Dr. Jennifer Wu, who worked specifically with teens who'd experienced homelessness and family violence. Twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays, 4 p.m. Non-negotiable. "I don't need therapy," Mia said quietly. "Yes, you do," Doc said gently. "Not because you're broken. Because you survived something that would have destroyed most people. Therapy helps you process that so it doesn't eat you alive later." Marcus, Ghost, took on a different role. He became Mia's steady presence, the one who showed up every Saturday morning to help with homework or just sit and talk. He taught her how to change a tire, how to check oil, how to defend herself if she ever needed to. "You're never going to be helpless again," Marcus said. "Even if every system fails, even if you end up alone, you'll have skills, knowledge, strength." One Saturday, 3 weeks after Raymond's arrest, Marcus brought Mia to the clubhouse. Most of the brothers had returned to their home chapters, but Cleveland's 87 members were there, working on bikes, talking, living their normal lives. They treated Mia like family, not like a victim, not like a charity case, like a kid sister who belonged. Tank, a 6'5" mountain of a man who worked construction, taught her how to use power tools. "You're gonna need to know this stuff," he said. "How to fix things, how to build." Reaper, a former teacher who'd left education after burnout, helped her catch up on schoolwork. She'd missed months of school. He tutored her in math and English, patient and thorough. "You're smart," Reaper said. "Really smart. You just need time to catch up." And slowly, carefully, Mia started to rebuild. The legal process took 3 months. The trial was short, just 3 days. The evidence was overwhelming. Tony Rodriguez, the mechanic, testified that Catherine's brakes had been perfect 8 days before the crash. "Someone tampered with those brake lines. I'd stake my reputation on it." Sarah Martinez, the neighbor, testified about watching Raymond put Mia's belongings in trash bags and lock her out. He showed no emotion, no concern, just put her out like trash. Patricia Hayes, the school counselor, testified about Mia asking for help and Raymond silencing her. "I knew something was wrong. I should have protected her. I didn't, and I'll regret that forever." Keisha Williams testified about the bus shelter, about Mia giving away her only blanket to save a stranger's baby. She was dying, and she chose to help someone else. That's who she is. And he threw her away. Wire presented the digital evidence, search history, bank records, timeline of insurance policies, and payouts. Doc testified about Mia's condition when found. Without intervention, she had 2 to 3 weeks of survivable time remaining. This wasn't neglect. This was calculated endangerment. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Raymond Michael Collins was sentenced to 8 years in state prison. No eligibility for parole for 5 years. The life insurance policy on Mia was voided. You can't profit from a crime. The inheritance from Catherine went directly to Mia, held in trust until she turned 18. When the verdict was read, Mia sat between Rita and Marcus in the courtroom gallery. She didn't cry, didn't cheer, just nodded once, quietly. "It's over," she whispered. "No," Marcus said gently. "It's just beginning." 6 months later, on a warm June afternoon, the Cleveland Hells Angels threw a party at the clubhouse. It was Mia's 17th birthday. May 8th had come and gone, but they'd waited until school ended to celebrate properly. The clubhouse was decorated with streamers and balloons. Someone had made a massive sheet cake with "Happy Birthday Mia" in purple frosting. 87 bikers showed up, plus Rita, Doc, Bones, Wire, and about 20 teenagers from Mia's new school. Mia stood in the middle of the clubhouse, overwhelmed. She was different now. Not just physically, though she'd gained back the 22 pounds and looked healthy again, but fundamentally. She stood straighter, made eye contact, smiled more. She wore jeans without holes, sneakers that weren't held together with duct tape, a purple hoodie, brand new, her choice, that actually fit. Marcus handed her a wrapped present, from all of us. Mia unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a leather jacket, custom-made, her size, with Mia embroidered on the front and a special patch on the back. A guardian angel with motorcycle wings. Your family, Marcus said simply. Official. Mia put on the jacket. It fit perfectly. She looked at the 87 men surrounding her. These scary-looking bikers who'd become her protectors, her brothers, her family. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. You saved yourself, Priest said. He'd come down from his usual position of authority to stand with her as an equal. We just made sure the world saw what you already were, a survivor, a fighter, someone worth protecting. Later, after cake and stories and laughter, Mia found herself standing outside with Marcus. The sun was setting, turning the sky orange and purple. The evening was warm, the opposite of that December night 6 months ago. I got something else for you, Marcus said. He walked to his truck and returned with a familiar olive-green blanket. The military surplus wool blanket Mia had given away. Keisha returned it, Marcus explained. Found us about 2 weeks after everything happened. She'd cleaned it, repaired the hole, wanted you to have it back. Said you saved her daughter's life. Mia took the blanket. In the corner, her mother's name was still visible in marker. Catherine Rodriguez. Always with me. I don't need it anymore, Mia said softly. I know. But sometimes the things that saved us deserve to be remembered. Marcus smiled. We mounted it in the clubhouse. On the wall. Reminder of why we do what we do. Mia looked at the blanket. 6 months ago, giving it away had been the act of someone with nothing left to lose. Now it was a symbol of everything she'd gained. Proof that choosing kindness, even in darkness, could change everything. Today, Mia Rodriguez is 17 years old and thriving. She lives with Rita in a stable home. She returned to Covington High School and made honor roll her first semester back. She's vice president of the student council and volunteers at Metro Hospital with Doc on weekends, helping in the pediatric trauma unit. The Hells Angels intervention didn't just save one girl, it changed policy. After Mia's story went public, the Cleveland School District implemented new mandatory reporting protocols. Teachers and counselors can no longer be silenced by administrators when a child reports mistreatment. The superintendent personally apologized to Mia and funded a new position. A dedicated student advocate, independent of school administration. The Cleveland chapter of Hells Angels formalized their protection work. They call it Angels Watch, a program where members volunteer as mentors for at-risk teens, coordinate with police for youth welfare checks, and provide emergency housing assistance. In 6 months, they've helped 23 kids. 3 other Ohio chapters are studying the model. Mia's inheritance, $340,000 from her mother, sits in trust, managed by a financial advisor Wire connected her with. She'll receive it when she turns 18 in 11 months. She's already decided. Half goes to college. She wants to study social work. And half funds a scholarship for homeless teens trying to return to school. My mom wanted me to have a better life, Mia said in a recent interview with the local news. The best way to honor that is helping other kids who are where I was. As for Raymond Collins, he sits in a state prison cell. His teaching license was revoked. His community reputation is destroyed. The church removed him as deacon. The Youth Foundation erased his name from their donor wall. He'll be eligible for parole in 3 years. But the Hells Angels have made it clear. They'll be at every parole hearing, watching, reminding, making sure he never gets the chance to harm another child. This story isn't really about motorcycles or patches or 250 men showing up at a school. It's about what happens when we refuse to look away. For 8 months, Mia was invisible. She stood on street corners. She slept in shelters. She asked for help from teachers, police, social workers, counselors. The system saw her and chose to look away because a well-respected man with authority said she was a troubled runaway. But one person, just one, chose to see the truth. Marcus saw a child giving away her only survival tool to save a stranger's baby, and he recognized that action for what it was: proof of character, proof of who she really was versus what she'd been labeled. And that changed everything. If you've ever felt invisible, this story is for you. If you've ever been labeled something you're not, if you've ever needed someone to believe you when everyone else chose not to, this is for you. Because here's the truth. There are kids like Mia everywhere. In your neighborhood, your city, your school. Kids who are fighting to survive while the adults around them fail to act. You don't need 250 motorcycles to change a story. You need one person willing to pay attention, to ask uncomfortable questions, to believe a child when they say they're not safe, to care enough to intervene even when your voice shakes. The system is made of people. When enough people refuse to look away, the system has to change. So here's what you can do. Pay attention. When a kid in your neighborhood suddenly looks different, thinner, dirtier, more withdrawn, ask questions. Listen. When a child tells you they're scared, believe them first. Investigate second. Act. Call the authorities, yes, but don't stop there. Follow up. Make noise. Be the person who refuses to let a child slip through the cracks. And if you see someone in need, maybe it's not a homeless teen, maybe it's an elderly neighbor, maybe it's a struggling parent, do what Mia did. Help. Even when it costs you something. Especially when it costs you something. Because that's how we change the world. Not with grand gestures, with small acts of courage repeated over and over until the weight of them becomes undeniable. Mia gave away her blanket to save a baby, not knowing anyone was watching. But someone was. And that small act of selflessness became the catalyst for justice. Your small act could be someone else's catalyst. Your attention could be someone else's salvation. Your refusal to look away could be the difference between life and death. If this story moved you, subscribe to this channel and share it. Let's make sure stories like Mia's keep reaching people who need to hear them. Comment below. Who was your protector? Or what do you wish someone had done for you when you needed help? Your story matters. Your voice matters. And if you're someone like Mia right now, if you're surviving but not living, if you're fighting alone and exhausted, please hear this. You deserve protection. You deserve safety. You deserve to be believed. Don't stop asking for help. Eventually, you'll find your Marcus, your Rita, your family of brothers who refuse to let you fall. This is Gentle Bikers, where we prove that the scariest-looking people in a room are often exactly who you need. That family isn't always blood. That justice is possible when enough people care. And that sometimes, one act of kindness in a blizzard can change 250 lives. Subscribe for more stories that restore your faith in humanity. Because there are more Mias out there. More Marcuses. More brothers and sisters willing to stand up when everyone else sits down. The world needs more people who refuse to look away. Be one of them.